Okay, wow. This one really sent a shockwave through the league, didn't it? I mean, it is not every day you see a pure one-for-one player trade like this, especially with guys of this caliber. So, let's really get into it and deconstruct what exactly went down between the Jets and the Titans. So, here are the nuts and bolts. The New York Jets shipped defensive end Jermaine Johnson off to the Tennessee Titans. And coming back to New York, defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat. That's it. No draft picks, no cash, nothing else. Just a straight-up player swap. You know, this is the kind of old-school deal that just makes everyone in the league stop and ask, why?
And to really understand the why, you first have to understand the who, because we're not talking about two interchangeable parts here. These are two very different athletes on two completely different paths in their careers.
Man, when you look at these two side by side, the contrast just tells you the whole story, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got Jermaine Johnson, a former first-round pick, a Pro Bowl pass rusher who was an absolute menace in 2023. But, and this is a huge but, he's trying to come back from a torn Achilles. Then you have T'Vondre Sweat. He's younger, a second-rounder, and he's just an absolute mountain of a human being at 366 pounds. He's your classic run-stuffing D tackle who also had a recent ankle issue. So, when you boil it all down, this is really a trade of finesse for pure power, a proven but recovering star for a younger space-eating specialist.
And then there's this number, $13.4 million. That's the guaranteed salary Jermaine Johnson was on the hook for in 2026. For a guy whose production, really took a nosedive after a catastrophic injury, that is a massive, massive financial commitment. Now, let's flip the coin over. T'Vondre Sweat, his cap hit is just $1.7 million. You don't have to be a capologist to see why the Jets front office was jumping at this. This move isn't just about the players on the field. It's about dollars and cents and giving yourself some breathing room. It's about financial freedom.
Okay, so with the money being a huge piece of this, let's dive into the Jets' grand strategy here. Because this move didn't just happen in a vacuum. Nope, it's a critical piece of a much larger puzzle that the front office has been putting together for a while now.
And of course, you can't forget the human side of all this. Johnson handled his exit with total class, posting this message for the fans. It's just a really powerful reminder that behind all the contracts and the stats and the trades, these are real people whose lives get turned upside down in an instant.
You have to understand, this trade is just the latest domino to fall in what's looking like a major defensive teardown. The Jets have been systematically moving on from key players from their last regime. It's pretty clear they're hitting the big red reset button, and they're prioritizing financial flexibility and a new scheme fit over some of the established names they had.
So when you lay it all out, the Jets' logic becomes crystal clear. It's basically a three-step plan. First, they bring in Sweat to add that massive size they need for their new 3-4 defensive front. A scheme that relies on big bodies to just clog up everything. Second, they create that huge cap flexibility by swapping the contracts. And third, this pretty much screams that they're going to use their number 2 overall pick to get a new, younger, and cheaper edge rusher. It's a total reset, both philosophically and financially.
But hey, a trade takes two to tango, right? So what in the world were the Titans thinking? I mean, why would you take on that big contract for an injured player and give up a young D tackle to do it?
Well, for Tennessee, this is all about a calculated gamble. It comes down to 3 key things. First, Johnson is a perfect fit for what their new coach Robert Saleh wants to do on defense. He needs that speed coming off the edge. Second, it's a reunion. Saleh and the D-line coach, they both know Johnson from their time in New York. They drafted him, they believe in him. And finally, they're basically betting the house that with another year to recover from that injury, Johnson can get back to being that Pro Bowl player he was.
And just to put that down year into perspective, after fighting his way all the way back from that brutal Achilles tear, Johnson's production just fell off a cliff. We're talking only 3 sacks and 6 QB hits. I mean, both he and the team knew the injury was a huge factor. The Titans are betting that one more year of recovery is all it's going to take to bring the old Jermaine Johnson back.
All right, so we've seen both sides of the coin. You have the Jets' calculated teardown on one side and the Titans' calculated gamble on the other. So the big question remains, who actually got the better end of this deal?
Well, if you ask the analysts over at ESPN, the answer is pretty clear-cut. The immediate consensus from the experts is that, yeah, the Jets came out on top here, and maybe by a pretty wide margin. When you look at it,
The Jets basically checked off every single box on their rebuild checklist. They got younger, they cleared over $11 million in precious cap space, they got a guy who fits their new defensive philosophy better, and they set themselves up perfectly for the draft. I mean, from a pure strategy point of view, it is really hard to argue with that execution. But here's the thing I want to leave you with. While on paper this looks like a grand slam for the Jets, football games aren't played on paper. What if Johnson goes to Tennessee and returns to his Pro Bowl form? What if the Jets whiff on that number 2 pick? Is this the brilliant beginning of a masterstroke rebuild, or is it just another gamble in a league that's absolutely full of them? I guess only time will tell.